I'll preface that I really don't think there's such thing as a perfect camera, but I do think there's such thing as a perfect camera for a specific user or for a specific use case. I got the Z6 Mark I when it was released, I believe, in 2018. Got it, put it on pre-order, the whole 9 yards, and really enjoyed the camera. Used it for, well, since it was launched, and as my daily driver camera. And I did have a few things that I didn't like about it, though always thought the image quality was superb and the features were superb. So the first thing I didn't like or really annoyed me in a daily use case is that the latency between what you saw and the real world was really noticeably high. Meaning in photo or video mode, if you went and moved the camera quickly, there would actually be a delay between what you saw. And for, let's say you're recording something slower, like an interview, or you don't have a fast moving object in your, as a subject, it's not gonna be that noticeable. But to me, it was that noticeable that it drove me absolutely nuts. Fast forward a little bit, we got the Z6 Mark II, and it had a dual X-Speed 6 processor instead of a single one. And it improved that delay and latency and rolling shutter in the video performance a little bit, but I found it not to be a high enough improvement to purchase the camera. Now, finally, with the Mark III Z6, we have the X-Speed 7 processor, and that latency and delay has been highly reduced to the point where DSLR converts can rejoice because it's almost exactly as fast as real time. So for me, that was a big enough reason to purchase the camera. Hell, I was going to purchase the camera anyway, but I'm loving it so far. I've had it out of the box for, let's see, it came yesterday at like 5 p.m. and that alone, I am so happy with it. I haven't obviously had the time to bring it out in the field yet because I just took it out of the box. But since they improved that, I think we're all good. Now, the second part is the Z6 I and II could not record log internally. This one, you can only do SDR, Rec 709. This one, not only can you record internal log, profiles, HLG, HDR, but RAW at 6K and N-RAW at 6K 60 frames per second and 6K 30 with ProRes RAW. And I did a little test clips, and I do love ProRes RAW because you can open up with the Mac in the Mac OS Finder. You don't have to throw it into your non-linear editor just to preview the image. And I really like that just because, let's say you're working with a client or just for yourself, you want as quickly as possible to see it on a big screen. So that's super convenient. Now, what else annoyed me about the Z6 I and II was that if you're talking to camera like this, it didn't have a flippy screen. It only had an angle screen or a tilting screen. This, you have one that you can do your selfie view with, and it is awesome. Now, in best case scenario, I would love to see the same thing that GH7 and the A7R Mark V have, and that's the hybrid tilting and flippy screen. I don't know, so you can pull it up like this or pull it around, and I don't know if Panasonic and Sony have some sort of patent on that. So Canon and Nikon and Fujifilm cannot use it, but if there is no patent, or maybe they can purchase the royalties or something like that from those manufacturers, I'd love to see that, because I do use the tilty screen when I'm taking photos from a very low angle, and I don't particularly like looking off axis with a flippy screen while taking photos looking down. It'd just be better to have that equal line of sight. Little small things besides that is that you finally get the full-size HDMI port. which is much more prevalent. I mean, everyone has a bunch of HDMI cables sitting around the house. You probably don't have a lot of mini HDMI cables sitting around the house, and it's a much more durable port. So I thoroughly enjoy that. If you're recording, let's say, instruments or whatnot, you now have a line in levels instead of just mic levels. So that's really interesting. And finally, for this video, I'll say the EVF. 4000 nits sounds really bright on paper. And I will say, I could not believe just how bright that EVF is. If you go in and manually push the brightness up, it's to the point that if you're not outside in bright daylight, it will sear your eyes. I mean, I was pushing it up and I had to look away because you just don't realize how bright the thing can go. So that's going to be super convenient for outdoor shooting during midday, because you'll be squinting less and your eyes will not have to adjust as much, because I'm sure, if you're shooting outside, if you're looking and then looking at your EVF, you have to give a split second for your eye to adjust. And then if the EVF is closer to the brightness of outdoors, you're not going to have that adjustment. You're going to cause less fatigue on your eyes. And that's about it for the first look. I'm going to be bringing this along, well, everywhere now for my daily driver in photo shoots and video shoots. And I'm quite looking forward to testing out and using in my workflow that ProRes RAW and N-RAW.